was giving free work. I was like, really? Y'all got it like that? But that's okay. That's how we do.
That's
I
how.
love y'all. They love me.
Yep,
Therefore, they love y'all.
absolutely.
That is why we're doing this. And all of we have Lila in here.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
so much
Lala.
for joining. We have other people that are going to be coming into the mastermind,
Come on in the
but
room.
thank you so much for joining us. Hey, do you have people that owe you money? You
Yeah.
know, those people where you did the work for them, you sent them the invoice, and the invoice is still due, and whatever invoice system you have reminds you that it's still due.
Hmm.
Well, you need that money because the way our bills are set up, we kind of need the cash. Well,
Absolutely.
I needed some help. A couple other people needed some help to understand how we can collect the cash. Bit better have my money. So I decided to call the revenue recovery. She calls herself a specialist. I call her an expert to
Okay.
help us to understand how to collect the cash without being that person. Right? We don't want to be that
Yeah.
person because a lot of people, a lot of people really don't like to ask people for the money, even though they know the money is due. I'm that way too. I can be a collector on some ways, but if I know the person's situation, I have a soft heart or whatever. But this
Mhm.
is a business, and in order for our business to sustain, we need the cash flow. In order to get the cash flow, we need to get it from our clients and our customers. So Dee, I'm so excited that you are here with us today to talk about collect the cash. So tell us about yourself, and
Okay.
then how can we get that money? How can we secure the bag? How can we collect the
How
cash?
can we collect the cash? Well, first of all, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to wherever you're listening to this fabulous training around the world. I am Dee Bowden. I'm the founder and CEO of BSET Solutions. So if it's okay with you, Tara, I'll tell you a little bit. I'll tell you some fun facts about me, and then we'll get into it. Is that all right with y'all? All right, perfect. So listen, fun fact number one, I love Ferris wheels. You're like, Ferris wheels? I know. Imagine going up in a Ferris wheel. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's relaxing. And for me, because I deal with money all the time, I need things that will help me definitely relax. So Ferris wheels are number one. Number two, I'm a smooth jazz fan. Love smooth jazz. So anytime I can get a good glass of sangria, be outside in the grass, enjoying some smooth jazz, love it. Third thing is I love a hot air balloon ride. That's one of the things I've done that's been really majestic in my life and actually been just super, super, super fun. So we got Ferris wheels, smooth jazz, and a hot air balloon ride. So I know the question everybody wants to know is, Dee, why do you love collections and why do you collect cash? Well, here's what happened to me. About 15 years ago, I worked for a small IT company and they had $8 million worth of sales on the books, but not in the bank. Let me say that again. They had $8 million worth of sales on the books, not in the bank. So they were a small IT company. We're talking less than 100 people. So they sold they sold IT software, licenses, computers, anything IT. So they sold it. But here's the thing. They didn't make sure that the sale was complete and that the money was in the bank. So they, meaning salespeople, sold the services. They had orders. Then they delivered the order. They delivered the products. Then they billed for them. But the lane I'm in, which is collections, they forgot to collect the money. Now, I don't know how you forget to collect $8 million, but that's what happened. So when I got hired as a collector, they said, Dee, here's your list of accounts. It's $8 million. We need you to get to work. So I happen to be a believer. So I said a short prayer. My prayer kind of went like this. Hey, God, yes, I need your help. I don't know how this happened, but I need you to give me some quick wisdom on what to do. So after a few minutes of just being quiet, I kind of got a clue on what I need to do. It was basically realizing that the reason there was $8 million worth of sales on the books and not in the bank, because it was a problem. So I see collections as two things. Collections to me is an extension of customer service, number one. And number two, it's problem solving. So I basically put on my problem solving hat and said, okay, let's figure this out. First thing I did was get on the phone, start calling the customers. Hi, I'm Dee from Amherst Technologies. I'm calling about account number, blah, 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 invoice number, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for the amount of whatever it was. Oh, Dee. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? We were supposed to change something in the system and make sure y'all got paid. So basically getting on the phone, building the relationships with the people at the customer sites got us to get paid. And next thing you know, $6 million came in 60 days while working part-time. It's an amazing story and it's actually true. But as great as that is, the $6 million came in. The $6 million came in, but then after that, what happened was the CEO said, hey, listen, we're going to have a short meeting. If you ever have had a boo or a booette, when they tell you we need to have a chat, that's kind of clue for something's about to go down. So basically, we all get downstairs and he says, listen, I want to thank everybody for your services, appreciate everything you've done, but we've made an executive decision and we're closing the company and you've got 30 minutes to go get your stuff and leave the building. Exactly. So I've worked really hard in 60 days to recover $6 million. Number one. Number two, we all get downstairs and we're told the company's closing, you're losing your job 2 months before Christmas. I was devastated, and I guess that, to be honest, I was pissed off because I'd worked really hard to recover this money. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? But that was not, it wasn't just me. It was less than 100 people whose lives were changed, So after I picked myself up at the floor, I'm like, how did this happen? And then I realized there were 4 areas that didn't talk to each other. So the salespeople did the sales part. The contract people did their part. The order entry people did their part. The billing people did their part, and the collections people, which is my lane, they all did their parts, but they never talked. And so the sales guys were able to make sure that their sales transaction went through, but the money, they basically did not make sure that the sale was complete and that the money was actually in the bank. And that's what I'm known for. That's my tagline. My tagline is the sale is not complete until the money's actually in the bank. So because of what happened to me personally, and because I know that right now with this pandemic that's going on, there are lots of small businesses that may be facing the same thing. They've already provided products, they've already provided services, and they've already billed for them, but they don't know how or when they're going to get paid because they don't want to mess up the relationship. And that's the tightrope of being in collections, because what people forget is that when you're in business, you do several things. You sell, you have to have a contract or agreement, you have to provide a product or service, you have to invoice for it, and then you have to collect for it. The collections is considered a dirty word because most people would rather get a root canal than go ask anybody for money because they're worried about the relationship. But I contend that the same energy it took you to build the relationship to get the business is the same way you have to do to get your money. And you can't be afraid to ask for your money. Now, of course, there's a proper way to do that, which is basically you're calling up to inquire about the invoice, inquire about the product, inquire about the service, and you want to make sure that if there were any difficulties, any issues, any problems, address them. So that would be, so to kind of go into what do you do to collect your money? Number one, you got to set a goal. You have to set a goal for how much money do you plan to collect, right? If you, let's say, for example, you had $10,000 worth of sales, then you should be planning to collect $10,000 worth of revenue for the product or services that you delivered. Number two, if your customer hasn't paid you in 30 days, the 31st day, you need to be on the phone and calling them and asking them, hey, John, Sue, whatever their name is, I'm calling on behalf of my company to find out, is there a problem with how come we haven't been paid? Get a piece of paper and a pen and listen. They'll tell you why they haven't paid you. Sometimes it's because you haven't delivered on everything that was agreed to in the contract, which means you need to fix it. If it's not you, the CEO, then it's whoever is responsible for making sure that transaction goes well. That's the first thing. Second thing is sometimes it's the invoice. Sometimes it's a simple thing of the invoices not being properly prepared. You forgot to put the contract number or the order number. Your information is incorrect. Some people have what I call fat fingers. They type really fast, but they forget to double check and make sure all the information is correct. So when it's not correct in the system, then you send it out incorrectly, and then you're wondering why you haven't gotten paid. Well, you haven't checked. You didn't check the information. So one of the things you can do to make sure that you collect your cash is verify your invoices. Verify that your invoice information is correct. Verify it's going to the right person. Verify that you actually have the right name, right information, right amount, right product or service, and right period of performance. When did you do the work? So that all that information is actually on your invoice, and then it actually should go through. So along with that, I'd like to give you guys 5 tips. So excuse me 1 second as I grab my notes. So the first thing I want you to write down here is set a goal. The reason I tell you to set a goal with collecting your money is setting a goal gives you a focus. In the world that we live in today, most people are big on vision boards, whiteboards, whatever. A lot of people need to see visually, what are you going to work on? What are you collecting? I personally believe in terms of recovering money, you need to set a goal. So for example, if this is the month of April. So for the month of April, if you have $10,000 worth of sales that you've already done, you should have a list of how many customers have you serviced this month, how much money or how many products or services have you delivered, and how much money have you billed to them, and then how much money are you supposed to collect. You should have a goal for every single month. how much did you sell, how much did you deliver, and when are you supposed to get paid. And you should have a tracking system for when that's happening, so you know this is when I'm supposed to get my money. And if you're tracking it correctly, you should have a trigger, you should have a calendar, you should have something to remind you, hey, if my money hasn't come in by this date, I need to be on the phone doing follow-up, because the money is in the follow-up. The money's in the follow-up. And if you are squeamish or uncomfortable with asking for the money, then if you don't like doing it, then you need to bring on someone like myself who loves doing this and understands the delicacy of the relationship, but is also focused on getting you your money, because I don't want to see you go out of business. Because here's the thing, if you don't have any sales, you're not going to be in business. If you don't collect your money, you're not going to be in business. And right now with this pandemic, you can't afford not to collect your money. And I'm not saying in any way that you need to be rude or aggressive in that, but you do need to understand that you're in business to make money. That's the only reason you're in business. You get to do what you do through your lane of brilliance, but you're in business to make money. If you don't have any sales, you're not going to be in business line. If you don't collect your money, you're not going to be in business line. So step 1 was set a goal. Step 2, if you have a bunch of accounts, identify the easy ones. It's kind of like the low-hanging fruit. Go get the easy money. You're like, are you serious? Absolutely. Go get the easy money. Number 1, if you have all of us, if you deal with customers, whether it's coaching customers, business customers, it doesn't matter. You have your easy customers, you can just call them up. Hey, Sue. Hey, Johnny, whatever. Hey, I forgot, I noticed in my bills. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me take care of that immediately. And before you get off the phone, the payment's done. I say, go get the easy money, go get the easy accounts, because number 1, that builds momentum. It lets you know that if you can get those easy accounts, then you can try to brace yourself for the customers that might be a little more challenging, and you have to massage them and work with them to get the money out of them. But the point is, when you identify the easy accounts, what it does is it builds momentum. And everybody likes to feel that they're successful in this. And because when you get the momentum, you're like, okay, if I was able to get this first little bit of money, I'm like, yes. You feel like, yeah, I got this. And then you can go after that and say, okay, I'm going to go after this, the next account, the next account, the next account. It's kind of like a snowball. You start small, you build momentum, you build momentum, you build momentum. So you basically go from the smallest account to the medium account to your large account, but you've got some successes under your belt, which helps you feel like and know you can get your money. So the first tip was set a goal. Second tip, identify the easy accounts so you can actually build momentum and get some money in the bank now. Third thing is believe it can be collected. You're like, believe it can be collected. Yeah. Mindset is everything. I didn't know that this was actually called mindset. I just knew that I needed to believe I could collect this money, because nobody starts out in business, I don't care what you do, not believing that you can do what you do well. Now, I happen to believe and know I'm good at collecting because I'm good at solving problems. And that's how I got into this business, because I figured out God gave me a gift to solve problems. So I had to believe that this gift could be used somewhere. It just so happens that collections, from business to business, business to corporate, and business to government, has been the lane I've been in for almost 20 years. So I've been believing I can collect this money for the longest time, and I have receipts, as the streets say, to prove so. So I give you an example. I just told you in the beginning of this conversation that I recovered $6 million in 60 days while working part-time. Well, in 2016, the United States Coast Guard headquarters recognized me for recovering $7.5 million in 1 year. I had to believe I could collect that money, or they would have never given me those accounts and they would have never recognized me. But it all started with what I was telling myself, is that my skills, my knowledge, my skills and ability show me that I can do this. So you've got to set a goal, identify the easy accounts, and then believe it can be collected. You have to believe you can do this. Just like you believed you could get the sale for your product or your service, you have to also believe you can collect the money. Fourth thing you need to do is write it down. Really, Dee? Yeah. Vision board, whiteboard, old school piece of paper. I don't care what you do, but you got to have a way to track it out. I joke often, and I often say, maybe there's an app for tracking this. There probably is. I don't know about it because I don't use apps a whole lot. But my point is, you need to write it down. You need to know the state of your accounts. So speaking of that, here's a simple way for you to track what you have. I'm old school, so I'm going to tell you it from my experience of using Excel. Number one, if you have an Excel spreadsheet, the first column would be the name of your customer. The second column would be the contract number or the order number. Third would be how much is it? How much is the contract for? Write that down. Fourth would be what did they buy from you? What did they buy? Widgets, coaching services, whatever. That's fourth. Fifth, when are you supposed to deliver it to them? And then sixth, when are you supposed to bill for it? And then seventh, when are you supposed to get the money? That's a way of tracking it, so you actually know what's going on with your money, and to make sure you don't overspend or overbill. If you track everything correctly, you know the name of my customer, how much is the contract for, what did I sell to them, when am I supposed to provide this service or product, when am I supposed to invoice, when am I supposed to get paid. And if you had a salesperson help you win this contract, put their name on the tracking sheet, so you know if there's any difficulty along this whole transaction. If I'm not able to do this, my salesperson can actually help me recover my money. That's why you write it down. So let me recap. Number one, set a goal. Number two, identify the easy accounts that they definitely can be collected. Number three, definitely believe, you tell yourself you can definitely recover this, and then get after it. Number four, write it down. And then number five, affirm it. Words have power. I mean, we live in a world right now where people are saying all kinds of crazy things, but you have to encourage yourself in that you can and you will do this. If you don't believe you can do this, then you won't. But if you believe you can, you will. And the thing is, if you are in business, you have to believe that you can do this. Why else are you in business? Because you're in business to do two things. One, to make money, but number two, to solve a problem. And if you don't believe that you can solve a problem, you're not going to get after it. You will quit at the first sign of trouble. And you can't do that. You can't run every time it's difficulty. Every time there's difficulty, and including collecting your money. You know, I understand that collections, like I said, it's a dirty word. In some people's experience, it also can be the tightrope. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this. But here's the thing: you who are business owners said, I'm creating this business to make a difference. Well, you got to make a difference and make $1, or you're not gonna be here long. You're just not. So with that, it's kind of on a recap again. So number one was set a goal. Number two, identify the easy accounts. Number three, believe it definitely can be collected. Number four, write it down. And number five, affirm it. And then my personal favorite out of all of this is celebrate. You're like, what, D? Yeah, celebrate. Every time you collect your money, you ought to celebrate. You ought to do something. Raise a glass, go get a piece of bubble gum. I don't care what you do, but you need to celebrate. Because here's the thing, the energy it took you to recover the $5, the $50, the $100, $1,000, and on and on and on. It's the same energy, the same process. You still have to make the phone call. You still have to do the follow-up. You still have to provide the invoices. You still have to get on the phone. You still have to resolve the problem. You still have to do all the things I just told you, and you still have to believe at the end you can collect this money, and you deserve to get paid for your services or your products. So those are the things I had to talk about right now, which is about, you know, basically how to collect your money, how to recover your money, how to secure your cash flow, how to make sure that no matter what you do, that you're getting paid, and that you are not leaving any money on the table. Because right now we're in a space in terms of this pandemic that a lot of people are scared, and I get that, and I get that you don't want to necessarily have to ask your customers for payments, but if you have already provided services or products to them, there's nothing wrong with doing a follow-up and asking them, hey, John, hey, Sue, hey, whatever their name is. Listen, first of all, show them some respect and some concern. Hey, how are you doing? Are you good? Okay, that would be number one. Then number two, listen, I know it's kind of weird, but hey, you know, I got to ask you about my accounts because, you know, we're going through our list, and we've noticed a few things have not been paid yet, and we just need to find out what's the plan. Number one, are you good financially? And number two, are we scheduled to get paid? When's the next accounts payable run? When's the next check run? And when can we expect to get paid? And then pause and let them tell you. Give them a minute. You're like, you know what? Oh yeah, well, we've got some difficulties, or we may not be able to pay you everything right now. We may have to do a partial payment. Okay, some money is better than no money. Let's be clear. Some money is better than no money. And right now, so long as you don't damage that relationship, because the other thing most people don't talk about in collections is that it's relationships. The reason I have been successful for doing what I've been doing for over 10 years is I've had to learn to build relationships. I've had to respect the person on the other end of the phone as they're doing the same job I am. They're taking care of their customer. I'm taking care of my customer. I have to appreciate them and thank them for helping me solve my problem. And usually what I do is I thank them for taking my call. I thank them actually for going to do the research to figure out why come I haven't gotten paid. And then if they tell me, oh yeah, Dee, we're putting your invoices on the next check run, you're going to get paid this. Thank you so much. And I actually personally either call them back and say thank you, or send an email to say thanks for helping me go through this entire process of getting paid. And what it does is it builds history, and it also builds integrity, and it builds relationships. And the next time I have a problem, hey, Dee, what you need? I got you. Done. But that's what I've been doing. And I've learned that over time, because the person that processes the invoice is just as important as the person who does the sales, just as important as the person who writes the check, just as important as the person who runs the company. Every person along that chain is important. If you disrespect one person just because you think, oh, they're not that important, it's like, no, that person who processes your invoice is due the same amount of respect as you do the CEO. That's just my personal belief. So, I guess I'll take a pause there.
I have a question.
Yes.
We're doing live questions. I know that Tara's got some allergies, so I just want to pipe in with my question. I'm worried about sensitivity right now. I have 3 open invoices currently, which is why I was really looking forward to hearing this. And I've gotten some great advice. I know that one of those people is what you're calling like the easy low-hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. So after this, tomorrow, I'm going to set an appointment for tomorrow on my calendar to follow up with that person, the easy one, and just be like, hey, what's up?
Yep.
Do you still want to do this work? Because the invoice is still open. And then there are these other 2, one of whom I know, like, her father is going through some major medical issues because of COVID. She's had to reschedule a lot of stuff in her life. Mm-hmm. And that includes postponing some of the work that we're about to do. But I have reserved like that amount of time and energy in my schedule already, which is why I get paid ahead of time for most of these things. Also, I've learned that from you in other work of yours that I've heard. But right. Then there's this one other client whom I've already done this work for. We have a relationship now over 1.5 years of working together. This is not the first time that like she's been late on an invoice. And now I'm just like pissed, Right. So I could use some feedback about the tone to take with people that have a history and a pattern of kind of playing with your invoices like they don't matter. And on the other side, people whom are, maybe new relationships, but they're really positive, but could really use a lot of help and support themselves right now.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks so much for the questions.
Yeah.
I think number one, you have, how can I say this? I'll just say it. You have customers that based on the longevity of the relationship, that they're the kind of customers that will kind of kick the can. That there probably have been signs that have been along the process of, oh, I'm gonna pay you, or I've had some problems, or I've had the fill in the blank.
Yeah. PayPal's not working. And I'm like, I sent you a QuickBooks invoice. You can pay that.
Right. So I think number one, it's taking responsibility and acknowledging that there are customers that can be challenging, and it's the value of the contract and the value of the relationship with that customer is number one. Number two, you still have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and also remind them that they had an agreement. They purchased their services from you, and they're still legally responsible for paying you. Now, what you don't want to have to do is threaten them with going to collections or going to court. That usually makes people more antsy, and they're like, oh, I don't want to go there. So I would say number one.
Dee, I think you just went on mute.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Sorry. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yes.
So what I was going to say was this. Number one, remind them, for the person that still owes you money, I would remind them that you still have a contract with them, that you've already provided service and you're expecting to get paid. Ask them what is the issue, and then take some notes, and then follow it up with an email and tell them, per our conversation on today, we discussed the following, and you're looking for a payment on this date. Now, if you have to go, if after 2 times of doing this, then it's like, okay, you know what? We've already had this conversation. I'm gonna look at legal legal services for doing this. And sometimes when you just mention it, that just don't even happen to go there, but just mention it to them, they respond quickly. That's what I would say there.
Great, Dee. Those were some awesome tips. Thank you so much, because that helps us to at least determine a plan. And a lot of people, they don't want to deal with being the collection or the collector because they have a personal bad connotation with collectors.
Right.
Not all collectors are bad people, evil people. They, their job is to collect the money on behalf of the business. It's like you doing some work for your job and your job decides to not pay you. You would want to get paid from your business or your company. And so if they refuse to pay you, you're probably going to sue them. But that's usually the last resort. Right. So, sometimes, like you said, having a friendly connotation to it, being understanding and having empathy is really great because you value the relationship. Sometimes people forget. Sometimes they're prioritizing you and the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so sometimes you have to be at the top of their call or their top of their email list that comes through. And it's just a reminder of there, because if you're quiet, they'll forget about you.
That's true.
Or they'll think that, okay, maybe you don't need the money. Maybe you're good.
Right.
And, I've had a conversation with a few clients like, look, do you want to proceed with the service, or I've completed the service? What is it now? Do you need a payment plan? Sometimes I offer to them because they don't even know that that's an option. Right. To do that. Right. And, I understand things are going on with COVID and all of this. What I'm offering a lot of my clients is a payment plan. I'll extend out. I've done this for a few of my clients where I've extended the invoice out, for 30 more days or 45 more days to give them a little bit more time so they can make partial payments and pay that. And so, like you said, a little bit of money is better than no money at all. Right. Absolutely. And then you have some people that they have every intention of paying you on a specific date, but sometimes they forget that we're not mind readers. So I know you're going to pay me in full on this date, but that's information you didn't tell me. So if I know that, then I can mark my records and do that.
Exactly. And thank you, Tara, for that, because I also think the other thing too is that we're in, even though we're in business, you're in the relationship business. You really are. You're in the relationship business, and it's always a delicate balance. But nobody's trying to go broke right now. Nobody's trying to close their shop. Nobody's trying to have to write off invoices. Nobody's trying to lose any money. And so the tips I gave you were to help you stay in business, number one, maintain your relationships, number two, do the follow-up, but do it in a way so that you don't aggravate your customer. You don't lose that relationship, but you also have to, you have to be assertive, not necessarily aggressive, but definitely be assertive and do follow-up and keep good records. Definitely keep good records. If you have a conversation with somebody, follow it up with an email. If you have to go to collections, you have to go to collections. If you have to go to legal, you have to go to legal. You have to go to court, you have to go to court. We're trying not to go there right now, but sometimes you have to, or sometimes, although you don't want to, sometimes you have to decide, you know what, this customer is just not worth all this aggravation. I'm just going to write this off. I'm going to cut my losses because I can't be bothered. And sometimes you do that because you just don't want to, you just don't feel like dealing with this anymore. Whether you're small, medium, or large companies do that a lot. They don't like to have to write off the bad debt because, number one, nobody goes down that path of planning to lose money.
Let me put some relative, like with a financial institution. I work with financial institutions, and I was the CEO of a credit union, right? And so one of the things we don't want to have to do is we don't want to have to charge off a loan. Right. Because we have to write off that bad debt, because now that becomes an expense. That's money of our customers that we lent to someone else. That person is not going to pay us back. So we have to write it off as a loss, and we have to recover or, pull from a reserve to pay our customers back, which means we've lost profits. We don't want to have to do that. And so, that's what she means by writing it off. And then what financial institutions will do, we're going to tell your business. We're going to go on that credit report, and we're going to tell everybody that you cheated on us and you did us wrong and left us with a baby that you don't want to support. How about that? Right? And that's called your credit report, right? It's your financial Facebook. We're going to tell all your business. Just in case you go to somebody else and try to get a loan, nope, we're going to tell them, nope, don't do it, right? So we don't want to get to that point. So financial institutions will either create a payment plan or whatever. We also deal with consumers differently. There is a willingness and an ability to pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the willingness to pay, but you don't have an ability to pay, we handle those customers different from those that have the ability to pay, but don't have the willingness to pay. Okay. So we're more aggressive with those. We know you got the money, but you just don't want to pay us. Okay, cool. So that's when it goes to collections. That's when we have to take legal action and all of that stuff. And we spend a lot of money to do that. Now, for those that have the willingness, but they just don't have the ability, those are the ones that we work with, you know, and it's the same way. So you almost have to have that same mindset for your own company, for your business, because the way you stay in business, the way you pay your bills is through cash flow, through revenue. And if people won't pay you what you've already, you know, services you've already done, that's going to affect your cash flow.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to put your business under. Why would you let someone else externally help to put your business under? We're not going to let that happen.
Nope.
So, Dee, before we end up, because this was great information, because I have a collections background as well. How can people, what if there's some people that just don't want to do this? Like, I just can't do it. I can't call nobody. I just can't do it. You know, how can they get in contact with you, learn from you, maybe contract your services to reach out to some of these people that they don't want to contact so they can get the recover their bag or get their cash?
All right. Well, thanks, Tara, for that. First of all, before I get into that, first of all, again, thank you so much for this opportunity. I've had a blast. It's been so much fun doing this. So thank you. So the way to get in touch with me, website, www.collectthecash.biz. That's www.collectthecash.biz. Facebook, it's Dee Bowden. LinkedIn is Dee Bowden. Instagram, Dee Bowden. Basically, go to the website, www.collectthecash.biz. Oh, and yeah, we actually go to the email. Go to the website. You actually schedule an appointment with me. You can actually schedule 30-minute consultation, free consultation, and we can talk about your accounts.
Beautiful. Dee, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your information. I can't wait to have you back.